it's funny because I've been thinking about the holidays and like Christmas shopping and all of that. And one of the things I've always been really big on Christmas and gifts and creating this magical winter wonderland in my home. And I'm not feeling that so much anymore. And I think my kids are already picking up on it. And they were like, "Are you going to decorate for Christmas?" And I was like, "Why would you ask that?" I always decorate for Christmas, but I think it's because I halfway decorated for fall. And they was like, "This was it." And I was like, "I think there's another box," but I didn't feel like finding it. And so I think they're picking up on like, is Christmas going to look like this also? And in my head, I've been sitting here and I was like, it doesn't feel like the same anymore. Things feel different. And so I was like, what can we do instead of like the traditional gift giving and all those types of things? And so I was looking at like, can I plan a trip real quick? Can we start doing trips? Um, and I was like, I think I could throw together a trip. Can I together a trip? But then I was like, what are we gonna do together? I was like, I don't think me and my kids like each other enough to spend like days together in a hospital. I said a hospital, days together in a hotel, or out at a resort because none of us really like the same things. And I was like, that sounds like miserable for them because I'm gonna go off and do whatever I want to do. And so I was just thinking about like how the nature of the holidays are changing for me, and I'm trying to kind of figure out what is this next version of what the holidays looks like as my kids are older. I have two adult children and then two younger children, and it's like, what does it look like now? And what kind of money is going to be spent, or what am I going to invest in, or what memories am I going to create versus like this production that I've always kind of put on. And it made me think about how during like this time of the year, so many clients start coming in with like their holiday kind of things going on. And I'm like, oh, I'm right there with y'all this year.
It can bring up a lot for clients as far as just preparing for the family that they do or don't want to see. We kind of start talking about the boundaries and, how they really want to spend their time. So I definitely think everyone in general is just trying to figure out what they want each holiday season that actually comes up.
Mhm. And I think it's hard because what happens is like there are these societal expectations, these familiar family expectations that we have of like what we're supposed to be doing during this time. Even I think about like we often go to my sister's house for Thanksgiving, and I know my kids. So like the last couple of Thanksgivings, they've been like, "Are we going up there? Do we have to go up there?" And for me, I'm also getting to this place where I just don't even want to do anything for the holidays. And I don't think it's not like a depression kind of thing. I think we have done all the things that we were supposed to do. And it's like now it's time to kind of create this image or this visual of the holidays for ourselves. And I think a lot of times clients struggle with that. And it's like, you don't have to do what everybody does for these days. And so when you're thinking about being with family, you don't have to be with family. When you think about you don't have any family, you don't have to worry about that. You can go and do something else. And so just because these days are coming up does not mean that you have to um, go by this playbook. You can create whatever vision of your life that you want to.
For sure. And the holidays sometimes can bring up feelings of loneliness for a lot of clients, whether they're around a lot of people or they're by themselves. But I always encourage clients to like kind of like seek the connection that's around them because a lot of times they only look for like big moments of connections, like the family dinner or like certain get togethers. And I'm like, you have connections all throughout your day. Um, so I guess really being proactive to kind of search out the connection that you would like during the holiday seasons versus on focusing on the connection that you don't want.
hmm And I think about that too, even like as I'm trying to figure out, well, what does holidays look like going forward. And it's like, yeah, I should be spending time with my family, but I also have these connections throughout the year. And so why do I have to also have them on these days? And it's like, if I just want to sit at home, then I just want to sit at home. If I want to find a restaurant, That was one of my other things. I was like, where are we going to get Christmas dinner from? If I just want to find a restaurant to kind of go and eat at, then I can just find a restaurant to go and eat at. And it's like, it doesn't mean that I don't love or care for these people. It means that, like you were saying, I have connected with these people or throughout the year. And I don't have to obligate myself to kind of create these connections also on these days.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, it almost kind of feels like an obligation to do the same thing that we've been doing for the holidays. And I think it's something personal. I think it's just people just giving themselves permission to do what they want to do. You know,
Mhm.
if people are having a very stressful October or November, if they're feeling kind of burned out, you have a couple of days off. Like, why spend it with a toxic family member? Or even if you enjoy your family, like maybe you just don't have the bandwidth to spend it with other people, and that's okay too. Like finding ways to recharge, whether it's the holidays or not.
It makes me think about like my past birthday, and I went on a solo trip and people were like, why are you going by yourself? It's your birthday. I was like, I see y'all all the time. And like this is that day where I'm choosing to be by myself and just recharge and kind of create this vision for myself that's unique to me. But I think what you were saying about like giving permission, and I've seen so often like clients are just waiting for somebody to give them permission to do stuff versus just kind of taking control over their own lives and being like, I'm just going to do this and it's okay if I do this. And yeah, this person may be upset or that person may feel this type of way, but at the end of the day, I have to live for myself. And we have to give ourselves permission to kind of do things differently. It makes me think about, I work with like a lot of people like in their mid 20s, and what happens is like they go to school and they check off all the boxes and they get their corporate career, and then they're like, now what? What do I do? Somebody tell me what to do. And it's like, do I just, and it's like, oh, you just work, and you and their parents or family will be like, you work and you work until you retire, and that's it. And I was like, you can do whatever you want to do. I was like, and you may work this job for 5 years and then you may change something else and then you may go back to school and get another degree, and your family may look at you like you're crazy, but we don't have to just do the things that you're supposed to do all the time. And it's like we can always shift things up to get like where we want to be in life and to kind of enjoy life the way we want. And I think that the what also happens with the holidays and why people feel so down is because now they're also being forced into these images of themselves or these roles that they may not, carry all year long. I think about how many people are different people with their family, or they don't know about their relationships or whatever it may be, and now they have to go into these places and pretend to be this version of themselves that is not true to them. And that kind of creates a lot of like anxiety and resentment and depression and all these emotions of like, I just want to be me.
Exactly. Because even though like people have been going to these holiday events year after year, everybody's in different milestones in their life. Like there could be family members or clients that have already graduated and maybe they're in a new relationship. And maybe for Christmas, they're like, you know what? We're going to spend our anniversary in Europe. We're not going to spend our time in the States and with family. Um, one thing I do encourage clients to do if they have the bandwidth or they have the openness to do is compromise. You know, if you want to spend Christmas in Europe, like is there another time that you can connect with your family members, before the holidays? And sometimes that helps with any type of feelings of guilt that they might have come up.
Yeah. And it's I think it's my thing is like I love the idea of creating something for myself, creating something that's like unique and just mine. It makes me think about even like why I have so many Christmas trees in my house. Is it related to some trauma around Christmas trees in childhood? Yes. But it's also of like who said I only had to have I could only have one tree. If I want to have six trees, I want to have six trees. Leave me alone. I'm gonna create a vision however I want to create it. And so that is like happy for me and personal to me. And I think it's so hard for people to kind of lean in to that. Um, I think also, I think about people who are alone and they're like, well, I'm just going to be alone. And I'm like, go take a trip. You don't have to be alone. And it's
Mhm.
like, holidays can look different. It doesn't have to, again, it doesn't have to look, this particular way.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying about the traditions because, like, with my family, we do traditions. Like, we don't eat traditional food. We don't really like Thanksgiving food. So it's like for Thanksgiving, we just started either, oh, we're going to do Mexican food or Italian food or seafood or crawfish or etouffee. And we just kind of take what people want in the house and we vote for it. Um, and it's just so much more fulfilling, not having to go house to house and
Hmm.
back exhausted. It's like you can literally eat the food you want and enjoy your company with your family at home.
Yeah. We do that for Christmas where we just kind of cook whatever we want. It's like, what's on the menu this year? I don't know. And I remember that always started with my mom because, Thanksgiving is like this big production of food and cooking. And my mom's like, that's too much cooking too close together. I'm like, it's only a couple of weeks in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. She's like, that's too much cooking. And so Christmas was always like a lighter meal.
So, like, if you are spending time alone for holidays, I always encourage my clients to like think about your vibe. Like, you are still a relationship with yourself. You should be the most important relationship out of everyone. So it's like don't like skim on the vibes. Like, put up your tree or put up your decorations or cook you like a meal just for yourself. You can still act as if you are treating someone, which is yourself. You can still make it special. Like, you can be alone and you don't have to feel loneliness.
One of the things that I thought about, and I've talked to people about this recently, is I have a lot of people who end up in therapy are people pleasers. And what happens is that when they're going to these holiday events, they're doing it to like satisfy somebody else. They're making adjustments in like what they would eat or what they would want to do. And when we branch off and do things solo, you're not in this position where you have to please others. You're in this place where you can do absolutely whatever you want to do. And if that means that you start, eating Christmas cookies on on Thanksgiving Day, and it's like, okay, well, you can start eating Christmas cookies on Thanksgiving Day. It's okay. That also reminds me when I think about like switching up of like traditions and stuff. My kids were asking me, when are you going to start putting up the Christmas trees? And I was like, the day after Thanksgiving, like I always do. And they were like, why are you going to wait? And I was like, because that's when you put it up. And it was like, you can do it earlier. And it was like, you do all this stuff for Christmas, but then it's only up for a short amount of time. Or you don't even do it the day after Christmas. You end up waiting a whole other week. And then we don't even have the stuff up for that long. Or you leave it up longer into January because you haven't had it up that long. And it looks a hot mess. And and I was like, oh, well, maybe I will start earlier. But I was like, I like fall. I like fall and I like my fall decorations. And they were like, but you didn't even put them up this year. And so you might as well go ahead and start putting up the Christmas stuff. And I was like, I guess they have a point.
Yeah, I think it's just, the holiday season is just a time for people to consider themselves a little bit more than they consider other people. And just giving yourself permission to do that because everybody is experiencing different things each holiday.
And it's funny that you say that because I feel like the messaging around the holidays is the complete opposite.
Yep.
And so it's very much of a, you need to like be thinking about others and giving to others and being generous and those types of things. But it's like, but then what about you?
Hmm. Yeah. Everybody not might not be in the boat to give anything because my thing is like, what if you were the type of person that has been giving and been generous all year, 365, but then these holidays come around and you're just completely just exhausted. Also, if you're doing that, the people around you almost expect you to keep up this action of doing all of these things, and then you feel like you're drowning and then you burn out.
Hmm. And I think that that's where I'm feeling too, because I usually would give my kids, I'm like, hey, you have this limit, let me know what the list is. And so I always said like it looked like, Christmas like threw up under my Christmas tree. And so there will always be all these gifts. Now my love, I show love through gift giving. And so like this is my Super Bowl. This is where I give all the gifts, and it's just like pouring out from under the tree. They're opening for a long time, and it's just like I did it. But then I'm like, I don't want to do all that. I'm tired. I'm like, I do give all year. One of the things I keep telling my older kids, I was like, I need y'all to stop needing things for at least 3 months because I'm constantly giving and giving and doing. And I was like, I'm tired. And now the Super Bowl is coming. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And that's why I'm like, let's go on a trip.
Yeah, for sure. Because, and then just think about the pressures of Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like, it could be stressors of like the increase in finances that you're spending. And it can just be a very stressful experience because it's so much focus on give, give, give that people often just forget themselves and they just give and they give from a place that they don't even have.
Hmm. And it makes me think about, so you said like Thanksgiving and Christmas, but then I thought about like New Year's also. And it's like New Year's becomes that shift back to yourself temporarily for like 30 days. And so it's like, no, give, 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 give. And it's like, now set all these goals for yourself. But then that only lasts for like so long before people are back asking for you to give, 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 give again. And
Yeah.
so I think like the big messaging around the holidays is very much of, it doesn't have to be this these traditions. It can be a period of like rest and resetting for yourself as you're preparing for the new year. I think even like when I think about like setting goals for the new year, how much of that is done out of depletion versus like being at a place of rest and clarity.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think even with the setting of the goals for New Year's, it can almost feel like an obligation, like I have to do these things. And thinking about like just the United States in general and just how the culture is, a lot of it is just consumerism. They just want you to buy these things and do this and do that. And it just kind of takes you away from what you might want to personally do. That's why I think compromising is such a great tool that can help protect your peace.
Hmm. Yeah. And I was like, and then sometimes I don't even compromise. She's like, no, we're just gonna do this instead. But and I think that like when I think about like consumerism and stuff too, it's just like there's just so much stuff. I look around my house, it's like there's so much stuff. My kids can't even give me a Christmas list. Why? Because they have everything. And so I'm like, okay, y'all have this limit. Tell me one thing that you want, and they're like struggling, like I don't know. And so I was like, we really need to be able to kind of like look at this time of year as something different. You know, I think about even like in corporations and stuff where they're like wrapping up. And it's not like, oh, we're pushing to get all these sales or do all these things. A lot of times it's like, this is the wrap up of the year. You know, people are going to have to start being at the office for the next like 6 weeks or whatever from Thanksgiving to the new year. And it's, but for us, it's like you're just going, going, going. Let me make all these traditions happen. It's like, no, let's function as a corporation temporarily and just reset. You know, tie off the loose ends and get ready to move into that next chapter.
You're so right. It's kind of opposite for the corporate culture because I remember when I was a financial analyst, like mid-November, like the meetings decreased, the expectations decreased, the cookies and desserts increased, and it was almost like a slowing down, a wrapping up. And that might be nice in one aspect, but then you have this other aspect of do more things.
Hmm. And I guess what I think about is that the holidays becomes that like that symbol that we're constantly being told to do certain things versus being able to kind of create those desires for ourselves. And so when we move into the holidays, it's like we're in that period of time where we lose our identity, we lose our decision making abilities versus being able to kind of have more control, which would make sense why people feel anxious and depressed. Like you're losing control because now you're in this place of these are the things that you have to do.
Mhm. For sure. Also, with that corporate slowdown, if you have less pressure at work, then you have more opportunities to hear your intuition or hear your inner voice, or even just acknowledge and recognize that you are more burnt out than you're aware of. So,
Hmm.
if you're aware that you're already struggling, then you might have that mindset of, well, I just got to push through because I have to show up for family. But if you haven't been showing up for yourself all year, that's going to be pretty tough.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's so hard for people to make these shifts because it's so ingrained in us. Like this is how it's supposed to be. And one of my favorite things to say, and I say it all the time, is like says who? And it's like who says it's supposed to be this way? One of the things that I say is like I don't think we were ever supposed to be this way. And I think about even like times where most people were on farms and farming and things like that, and like this is not what life looked like for them. We weren't supposed to be this way. We were supposed to be doing what we needed to do to be able to survive and eat and stuff like that. And now we've kind of created into like this giant monster of like things that you're supposed to do in order to be okay. And we're all stressed out and we're tired and we're just trying to kind of keep our heads above water.
Exactly, exactly. I think everybody is exhausted and tired and not getting enough sleep. And then the pressure of the holidays is just not a good mix. Also, on top of that, like I think the holidays also probably increase people consuming alcohol.
Hmm.
And that could really impact, someone that's burned out or their mental health in a negative way as well. So, um, it's just all these things outside of you that are external that are taking you away from like your internal world.
Yeah. And even I think about like the changing of time too and how that impacts people because it's more dark. Um, there's a lot more days of time of darkness. But I was like, oh, I love that. I was like, with me, like the time of darkness, I feel like is a time of better clarity. And it's like because I can't see, I see better. And I think we get so used to like being able to see everything that we're taking in, like all this external stimuli, versus being able to kind of be at peace in the darkness. And so people like they freak out. There's like I can't see, or there's no clarity, and it's like no, it's actually a very clarifying kind of period of time if you just kind of lean into the darkness instead of being like afraid of the darkness. If that makes sense.
Yeah, everyone definitely cannot embrace the darkness. I love the darkness as well, sleep better. But one thing I've been encouraging my clients to do to kind of reframe that, oh, seasonal depression is coming. I'm like, well, how, can we think something different?
Mhm.
Being proactive. Like, can you go on Amazon or go online and get one of those lights that mimic the sun? Can you maybe put a picture on your screensaver on your phone or on your computer of a sun rising or some type of landscape with sun, like reminding yourself of the sun because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Um, yeah, and I think it's just really helpful with reprogramming the mind. Like maybe you can make it a little bit lighter, not as dark.
Mhm. That makes me think about like the power of our thoughts, and people are like, oh, seasonal depression is coming. Well, yeah, you just spoke it into existence. Now it's coming. And it's like, can we shift that? Can we think about, it's like, oh no, it's about to be a great time, you know, changing weather, the trees are changing colors, the beauty of the season. I love like driving, like once all like the lights start going up in the neighborhoods, and it's I always feel like Christmas is like a very cloudy time of the year. And so it's like, oh, it's like a cloudy time. It's a little chill in the air down here. You see all the lights, and it's just like a beautiful time of the year. And people are like, no, it's sad. And I was like, no, it's beautiful. And so really being able to kind of like think about how much the way that you're thinking about something will impact the outcome of like what it looks like to you. And like that's one of the things I have really kind of worked on is being able to kind of like shift those thoughts and like, no, it's fine, or no, this is going to be great, or this is going to turn out this way, and I speak it out into existence, and it shifts everything for me.
Yeah, yeah. Everything definitely starts in your mind. I'll encourage clients, I'll say, have some really good reflective questions that are just in your toolkit, just two or three of them. One I'll say is, what is the outcome that you would like to experience? With all the buts, forget those, forget the barriers, forget what you think is going to happen. If you had a magical wand, what would you like to happen? And also along the way, like, how would you like to feel? What experience do you want to have with whatever event or whatever time? Um, and then that gets them thinking. They're like, I'm allowed to think about the things that I want. I said, well, it feels much better than focusing on what you don't want.
Hmm. Yeah. I think people are really like skeptical of like, oh, I can think myself out of something. And it's like almost, almost exactly that. But it made me think about like, I work with a lot of clients who also have like issues with like PMDD, and like that luteal phase of like their periods is like so hard for them. And I think about some where it was like, it was really bad, where severe depression, suicidal thoughts, all those types of things. And then now we look at them and it's like they're not having that anymore. And what did we change? The way they thought about that time period.
Mhm.
It wasn't medication or, any kind of like rituals or anything like that. It was very much of a, I know this time period is coming. I know this is what it typically does, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm.
And it's very much of, I can take control over this. It doesn't have to take control over me. And it's just like in shifting those thoughts, the impact of that luteal phase decreased.
Yeah. And those clients can also set themselves up for better success. Like maybe you can schedule less things to do around that time. Maybe you can take days off. Maybe you can increase your self care because you know you're going to feel uncomfortable. So, what are the things you can do to feel more comfortable to kind of set yourself up to feel a little bit better?
Yeah. It's always interesting seeing like the way that people think about things, the problems that they have with like the holidays, and everybody's experience is like so different, but also like so similar. And it's like this kind of like core beliefs that they have about what this time period's going to look like, and not knowing that they have or are waiting for the permission to do it differently.